If your baby is super attached and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way I can wean my baby, don't worry, I was there too. I breastfed my baby up until 15 months, and let me tell you, it's not for the weak. I have shared with you guys some of my post-weaning journey on Instagram and thought I should dive deeper into this journey. So here are 4 tips and tricks I took to officially wean my baby. I also just want to put it out there that everyone's weaning journey is different, and ultimately it's your decision on when you want to wean. So if you're researching and trying to find ways to wean your baby, then keep on watching. So I just want to back up a little bit on how I started breastfeeding. After I gave birth to my daughter, there was this huge push from the hospital to breastfeed. Now, I told myself I wanted to breastfeed, but I did little to no research, so I kind of went in really blind. We initially fed her with pumped breast milk in a bottle so that my husband can help with night feedings as well. I also breastfed her 1 to 2 times a day, just so that she can get the hang of latching and all of that good stuff. Somewhere in between the 4 to 5 week mark, she just stopped taking the bottle completely. And so that's how we moved into exclusively breastfeeding. So fast forward, I didn't actually start thinking about weaning until my baby was around 11 months old. Her pediatrician gave me the green light to go ahead and start weaning if I wanted to, but she always made sure to let me know that it's my decision. I don't have to wean if I don't want to. I also stumbled across a mom's video on TikTok about her weaning journey, and she had outlined all of the difficulties that she was going through with weaning. And so I was a little scared at first, and that made me realize that alone is a challenge within itself. I love breastfeeding. So why did I decide to put an end to my breastfeeding journey? So I was only producing milk on my right side and knew based on my output that I wasn't producing enough anymore. She would massage my boobs to kind of squeeze every little bit of milk out, and she would oftentimes get really frustrated. And so I think that's how I knew that it was time. This is the first tip I ever received from anyone, and that is to take 1 feed away at a time. At this point, my baby was about to be a year old, and she was breastfeeding about 4 times a day, not including night feedings. And she was also taking 2 naps a day. So what I did was I took away the feeding after her first nap and substituted with a snack. It took several attempts before she eventually caught onto the routine. So this initial process took me 4 weeks to nail down, mainly because I was doubting myself and I also wasn't very consistent. But once you get that first weaning off the list, it gets much easier to wean the others. So why did it take 4 weeks to wean off the first time around? That's where we get into step number 2. Be firm when saying no. Now, this part was the hardest part for me as a breastfeeding mom. There were a lot of times where I gave in because my mommy heart couldn't bear seeing my baby cry because she couldn't get milk. So it was my fault essentially, okay? I stalled so much, and honestly, that's probably why it took me 4 whole months to get her officially off the breast. Once I started getting serious, I will tell her no, to let her know that that's the final decision. Your baby will cry and cry. They will tug onto your shirt and it will hurt your heart so much. And don't worry, that's very normal. But I need you to come closer because this is something I want you to plant in your brain, because this is important. You must shut down your mom emotions during this process. Otherwise, you will end up like me, who just stalled and stalled and stalled. Once I disciplined my emotions and my baby understood that she's not getting any more milk, that's when the day feeding stopped. Like step number 1, you should always encourage snacks to get your baby distracted. This is what helped me throughout this journey, so give that a try as well. So now we are challenged with morning feeds and night feedings. I wanted to tackle taking the night feedings because that one is the most draining out of the 2. And this is where we lean into step number 3, which is having your partner step in during night feedings. I know, this part might be hard if your husband or your partner is away at night, so feel free to skip this step if you do not have additional help at night. Having my husband take over at night helped me so much more than I expected. My baby was so clingy to me, and so I thought this wasn't going to work out, but it did, surprisingly. Our night routine consisted of me feeding her to sleep, and then I will be the primary parent to go in and get her if she does wake up in the middle of the night. My husband was on toddler duty because my son was also still waking up in the middle of the night too. So we were assigned with a child at all times. I decided we needed to alternate taking turns getting her in the middle of the night, because at this point she knew that I would be the one to come get her and she will expect milk. Versus if my husband went and got her, she knows already based on his scent that it's dad. He doesn't have milk. And eventually she just started self-soothing herself to sleep. So even when I went in to get her at night, she wouldn't like look for the boobs. She would just go to sleep. We do give her a pacifier, and that has helped us tremendously, but that is also a challenge that we are currently facing right now. But the main point of this is to get her off the breast. Once she was steady and didn't rely too much on the breast anymore, the next challenge is to get her off of breastfeeding completely. This is where step number 4 comes in, going on a vacation. What happened in my case, worked out for me coincidentally, was going on a girls trip for 3 days. I didn't plan for it to work out that way, but it did. Now, you don't have to go on a vacation, but you can do something similar or repeat steps 1 and 2 to kind of get your baby off the breast milk. She was 15 months old at this point, and she was also taking whole milk, so I wasn't worried that she was like deprived of milk in any way. During my trip, I did try to pump in the mornings to keep up with my milk supply. That's when I noticed that I wasn't able to pump out an ounce. Not even an ounce, half an ounce. I think that was my breaking point where I knew I had to stop her completely, because then I knew she wasn't getting anything out anyways. Once I got home, it was almost like she completely forgot about my boobs. She didn't even cry for it. She didn't even beg for it. And so that's how we naturally stopped her completely. It just took me going away for a few days. A big part of me was so sad that she wasn't begging for it anymore. But you know what? It's for the better. I am now 18 months postpartum, and life feels so much simpler now that we stopped breastfeeding. I don't have to worry about eating enough food to keep up with my milk supply or leaking at random times throughout the day. No more breastfeeding bras or the limited outfits I could wear because I had to make sure my boobs were easily accessible at the time. And no more cover-ups in public. Oh my gosh, that was such a nightmare. What I've learned throughout this journey is you are more capable than you think you are. There were so many times when I told myself I couldn't do it, mainly because I didn't want to lose the bond I had with my baby. But once you discipline your mind to focus on the end goal, it gets so much easier to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I promise. Like I mentioned, I love breastfeeding and would do it much longer if my milk supply wasn't already depleting. I know my method took a while, but you know, it worked out fine for us. It might not work out for you, and that's okay. That's why I encourage you to go out there and do your own research, ask current moms how they went about to stop breastfeeding, because everyone's journey is different. Do a little bit of experimenting, and you know, if it works, share that knowledge and let the rest of the world know too. Anyways, thank you for sticking around. I will catch you in my next video. Bye.